Welcome to Finding Hope, the End to Suffering. Hosted by psychologist, author, and co-founder of the Colorado Institute for Conflict Resolution and Creative Leadership, Dr. Barry Weinhold, with national radio host, award-winning producer, and inspirational speaker, Patricia Raskin.
Hi, everyone, and we are back, with the podcast, Finding Hope and the End to Suffering. I'm Patricia Raskin, and I'm co-hosting with Barry Weinhold, who has created this wonderful series entitled, again, Finding Hope, the End to Suffering. And we've been working with and talking with Eric, and Eric is coming back on. And now we're going to talk about, he's been through his recovery. And Barry, you might want to recap on this. And then we're going to talk about where the hope starts and how we can, infuse daily habits that really keep us in recovery and beyond. Well, Barry, give us a synopsis.
I think there's two sides to it. There's things that we can do that we know are, and again, the discernment that we know these are good for us, so we continue to do them. But there also are challenges, and talk about both of those, Eric. I think, what are the challenges that you still have as somebody in recovery, and what are the ways that you reinforce the hope that you have?
I'd say for me, and I don't know that everyone looks at their life in this way, because I meet people all the time who like things very simple, and they just want to feel good. And I found that through me, my own challenges have been very existential in nature. I want what I'm doing every day to really have impact in the world. And so I guess I may go down a rabbit hole of overthinking that at times. Why am I not Elon Musk or something, and in some ways that's silly. I mean, I think we have a limited amount of control over what happens. And so for me, the struggle has been to dial things back and be present with what is. And that is ultimately, if I want to just make things very simple, that is often where I have to pull back. Whenever I find myself that I am stuck or anxious or overwhelmed, I am way out somewhere in left field that I have no business being. Mm-hmm. And when I bring things back to what's happening here, when I'm in my relationship, or I'm with the people I care about, or I'm in my work, I just forget about all that. And so being in the present has been my struggle.
Yeah. So do you find when you get anxious like that you can just pick up the phone or do a Zoom call or something to kind of get you right back up?
I do. I mean, sometimes it's difficult. Maybe
like a breathing technique, maybe, or meditation or something, taking a walk. I mean, something.
I use breath work. When I'm in moments to where the anxiety is that intense to where I can't think or act, where I can't. Yeah. I use breathing or some kind of mantra to bring myself back. I mean, what I do is I basically take a 30,000 foot view. And I'm looking at myself from the outside and making an effort to really detach from the cycle that I'm in. I think I'm on a rock floating through space at 300 million miles an hour, or whatever the hell it is, and then I think, okay, I can do this, right? I'm not that important right now, and that's like a nice thing to hear.
Yeah. And Barry, I just want to recap for people who didn't catch some of the other segments that what Eric is talking about is how he has been in recovery from alcohol and drug use and is helping, many people in his work, right, as a counselor.
Right.
And you're working with addictions. Mm-hmm. So, but that's really, and so where we are now is looking at, okay, you're always going to be in recovery, right? I mean, it's never, you just don't use the same method to handle it that you did before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also feel like I'm in recovery all the time.
I feel that way too.
That when I'll be finished with my recovery when they throw dirt in my face.
Yep.
I'm done then. But I'm always learning new things. I'm always excited about life and excited about hearing people's stories, like Eric's story, and also knowing that his story is going out on the airways to probably thousands of other people that maybe can be inspired by Eric's story, and it may brighten their day a little bit.
You know, I have a saying, and I think you exemplify it, Eric. My motto has been Richard Bach's book, Illusion. And Illusion is a parable. And in it, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, the seagull, says this. He says, we teach others what we need to learn most for ourselves, which is what you're doing in your work. And it's what I do in my work, because the more I do it, the more it reinforces for me.
Yeah.
I'm with you all the way. When others ask me what my work does for me, that is part of that answer, that I learn things at another level. When you can teach it to somebody else, you'll find you learn it and then you try to teach it and it doesn't compute. And that's because I've just only scratched the surface. And so when I teach it, I learn it that much more.
Yeah.
And I find myself pondering the topics I teach into my day. And I think, what am I doing to practice this?
I think it's funny when our friends and colleagues tell us something and you look at them and say, wait a minute, I teach this, I thought I got this already.
Yeah. There's this healthy moments of humility.
Yeah. I was going to say that a minute ago when you were talking, is that being humble helps a lot.
Yeah.
When you start getting out too far away from where you are at the moment.
Yeah.
Bring it back.
Barry, do you want to say something, and I'd love Eric too, about, how you can't change other people, you can only change you, and how to help people in recovery understand that? Because, we want to say, well, if only they would just, well, they're not going to change unless they want to.
Right.
So, Barry, talk about that a little.
I said a while ago, I used the phrase that motivation is the door locked from the inside. And so no one can really motivate you to change. You have to find that spark within you that says, I'm going to do this. And I know there were many times in my life when I didn't have that spark, but somehow I did what what Eric said, is I just took one step, and in that one step something good happened, and so it made me feel better. So I thought, well, maybe I could take another step, and so it's a process. I mean, you don't just wake up one morning and everything's wonderful. You have to work at it, and it's a day-to-day, step-by-step process. And so
also too, Eric, you said something about gratitude before, that it's so important to be grateful for what you have. We look at what we don't have instead of what we do have. And I think especially during COVID, when, just take something like food. We all took food for granted. You needed food, you went to the grocery store. Now you see thousands of cars lined up at a food bank and you're saying, you know what? Aren't I lucky? I have shelter. I have a home. I have good family. We didn't always we weren't thankful for these things. We took them for granted more. Talk about gratitude.
I'm with you. To your example, they had the same food. And so it shows that what their capacity, it's not like anything changed. They were just simply more appreciative of it. So it really speaks to our capability to, that's accessible to us. We can actually do that. I just think that satisfaction and happiness is so relative in that way. We have in us the ability to manufacture the very commodity we are chasing every day. I find that it's right in front of us most of the time, and that simply thinking of what we don't have automatically makes what we do have less. And so,
So true.
It does. It does.
I had one personal story I'd like to throw in here. Eric was part of my men's group, and one day he called me. He said, I'd like my dad to come with me to men's group. What do you think? And I thought, oh, that's unusual. No one's ever asked me that one before. So I said, sure. and I got to meet his dad, and what a wonderful man. And
Mm.
relationship between Eric and his dad was just immediately visible to everybody in the group. And so, want to say a little more about that, Eric?
Sure. I mean, honestly, I think of my dad as something of a best friend these days. And I think I told him that
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, which he never heard me say before. And I don't know how this came to be. When I think of my dad when I was younger, I don't have good memories. At least not mostly. There were some there, and now I think I appreciate some of those good moments now. Like for instance, so I'm like, I think my dad really taught me to have heart and unconditional compassion for people. I mean, like, there's a particular story that comes to mind where I remember, I think somebody was just going door to door, and I don't know, this person was selling something or telling, most of the time you wouldn't pick up or you wouldn't answer. And not saying that that's wrong to do, but my dad decided to just answer the door, even though he didn't want to, and just spent time talking to this man, who just seemed like he just wanted somebody to answer. And I just remember him turning around and talking to me of just like, I think he just wanted somebody, he just needed somebody to listen to, and he just wanted somebody to talk to. Mm-hmm. And it was just like little moments like that. And that wasn't anything. It's like giving the extra tip at the restaurant. You know how much that's going to make their day, and things like that. He amplified the power of compassion in my life, which, locked it in for me. And so today, I think what had happened was I had gotten sober, and we somehow met on the same path, where all of a sudden the language that I used was like his. So where we could mingle and relate to where each other were, like, we could talk about relationships with each other. Like, it was just really bizarre when it first happened. And then I just think it was just so nice. Like, you're my dad and I get to have that with you. Yeah. Like, that's great.
That's special. A great special thing.
Yeah. And we don't judge each other.
Yeah.
We don't judge each other. And we're just there to be honest. We also don't tell each other what we want to hear. And we both have a curiosity about life that I think just meshes well.
Well, I know we're nearing the end of our time. And one of the things I would like to feature a little bit before we let you go is Eric is one of his hobbies is music, and he's able to use that with his clients. And so I wanted people to hear Eric's voice because, and I think you tried out for the voice several times, almost made it one time. And so it's a part of Eric that he's able to use very effectively with his teenagers in his groups where he's working, and to play a song that really emphasizes where we're with this show, which is it's John Lennon's "Imagine," one of my favorite songs. So Eric,
I really look forward to hearing this.
Yeah,
sure.
Okay.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. nothing to kill or die for, and no religion to imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one. Oh, imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one.
Okay,
That was
wow.
wasn't that beautiful?
Yeah, very
Beautiful.
beautiful.
Mesmerizing.
And following that up, we have just a few minutes left. What are your dreams?
My dreams.
You're a dreamer, so what are your dreams? Tell us a little bit about it. What do you hope to be doing 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, or whatever, a year from now, or next week? I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, I want to keep doing what I'm doing in so many ways, and just do it better. You know, obviously, I want to dedicate more time to education, and I build more experience. And I also have taken some interest in the environment as well, and science, and the role science plays in our future. So I'm very passionate about the climate, and then also I just want to be a leader in this space of compassion and unconditional love. I get so much out of even the littlest interactions when I feel that I can provide that, even with a stranger. That I can just simply be there and be non-judgmental and treat everyone that way. I don't care what you've done. You know, I get clients with horrendous behavior. You know, it would be easy to turn them away, you know, for what they've done. And I am convinced that people mean well. I mean, 99% of us, you know, 99.9 even.
Yeah, that's a great comment.
Yeah.
And a great way to close, but a great comment of the attitude, looking for the best instead of looking for the worst.
Yeah.
Do
Right.
it.
Wonderful
Do it.
guest, Barry. You did it again. Wonderful
Wow,
guest.
good. Yeah, thank you so much, Eric. And
how can people find you, Eric? Do you have
I'm fairly active on Facebook. That's probably where I, if you just put in Eric Watson, my page is public. And so I think it's easy to find. At least anyone I ever asked to look me up can find that if you just put my name in, Eric Watson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was very inspiring.
yeah.
Thanks so much, Eric.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I
All
want to
right.
say a word about next
Yes,
month. And
please.
our
Who's
next
on next time? You always bring
I'm-
such great people, Barry.
I'm excited about this next one because it's a little different from what we've been doing. I have a friend who teaches English at Colorado College, and he teaches his students how to do critical thinking. through the use of film. And he's going to come on and talk about when we watch a movie or a film, we identify and we actually process parts of our own life
Yes.
through the characters in the film. And he's going to show us how to do that even better. And he's going to analyze several films, 3 of them that are specifically about suffering. And one of them will be about where the actors and the plot ends up where the people tried to ignore suffering and tried to deny it, and it only got worse for them. And the movie illustrates that if you don't face your suffering and don't deal with it, things will get worse. And then another one where the plot and the characters were seemingly thinking that they were dealing with their suffering, but they really weren't. They were missing the boat. And
so
then
tell us the name of our guest.
Our name of our guest is Dr. George Butte. He's a professor of English at Colorado College here in Colorado Springs.
Wonderful.
And he will be talking about how to get the most out of watching films. And I know I asked you, Patricia, what were your favorite films? And we'll talk about that too.
Yeah, I'm such a film buff. I just and I learned so much. You're right. I work out a lot of things by watching.
Yeah.
Great.
So I think it's a different way to look at
Yeah. Well, it's
suffering, but I think it'll be very interesting to people.
Yes.
And he'll give us some other ideas of other films like the ones he's going to talk about. That
and you and I will make our list of what films have really touched us. We'll talk about that next time. It's been great. Well, it's been great, Barry. It's always great.
Well, thank you so much for being my co-host. And I think we work well as a team.
We do.
And I enjoy, playing off of your questions. And you always ask me questions that I need to answer, and so I never know.
Well, you've got such wisdom and knowledge. It's like the tip of the iceberg.
We never rehearsed any of this, so it's when you come up with a question, I have no idea where that's coming, but I'm always seemingly able to answer it. So.
Yeah, it's great. It's good, and it's I think the common denominator is that we're all going through this, right? We're all people. Yeah. I mean, as I've said before, I teach these stress management and burnout and all these workshops for corporations, but it's every kind of from nonprofit to profit, from banking to engineering to and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the field. All what we're talking about is common denominator. We're all feeling these things. All of us.
We are all one.
Right.
And that's more important now than ever before, I think, in our history, as we've had to face all the challenges of COVID and all the economic consequences of all that. We have to be able to maintain that sense of that we're all one.
Absolutely. And on that note, Barry, we're going to say bye for now to our audience. Just for now.
Right.
All right, everyone.
See you next time.
See you next time.
This episode was brought to you by the Colorado Institute for Conflict Resolution and Creative Leadership. Find out more about these resources at weinholds.org. Dr. Weinhold is the author or co-author of 75 books on psychology, including his latest book, Get Real: The Hazards of Living Out of Your False Self, available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and more. Patricia Raskin is the host of the nationally recognized program, The Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show, and is currently heard on voiceamerica.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and more. New episodes of Finding Hope, The End to Suffering can be found every Wednesday. If you like the show, please leave a review and give us a rating.